And welcome to today's edition of the Meeting Point. I am Michael Ikog. Today's topic, we'll be looking at the 2023 election and unending Electoral Act Amendment. You'll agree with me that for some years now, since the amendment of the 2010 Electoral Act and passed, INEC and Nigerians have been battling to come up with another Electoral Act that will be better than what we have now. And this has taken us going forth and back. The National Assembly, in its bid to ensure that this bill sees the light of day, finally passed it in 2021 and waiting for presidential assent. But unfortunately, because of some clauses that was included in the amendment, the president vehemently refused to sign. At the time, Nigerians were calling on the National Assembly to veto the president. While we were waiting for that, in 2021, they took the bill back and also amended some sections. This has given Nigerians serious concern. Why are we not able to come up with an electoral act that will guide us towards actualizing the 2023 elections? INEC has also said that without the Electoral Act passed, the amendment passed, that they will not be able to come up with a timetable that will guide the elections. We have in the studio some credible gentlemen that will do justice to today's discussion. By my immediate left, we have Mr. Bukola Ojeme. Bukola Ojeme is the HOD, Voter Education and Publicity, Independent Electoral Commission, Delta State. Ojeme, you are welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers.
We also have an honorable gentleman in the House, Honorable Kenneth Gbandi of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. He also a veteran journalist and former Continental Europe Diaspora Chairman. Kenneth Gbandi, you are welcome to the studio.
Thank you, sir, for having me on your program.
To help me do justice to this topic by way of anchoring, we have another veteran journalist, the Bureau Chief of Daily Trust in Delta State, Comrade Victor Soroku. Soroku, you are welcome, and I'm glad to have you today.
Thank you.
Let me start with the INEC person. Ojeme, are you comfortable with, when I mean your commission, are you comfortable with the non-passage of the Electoral Act?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, we need to understand why it is important to incrementally enhance the legal framework for the conduct of elections in Nigeria. That also presupposes that there have been gaps and inadequacies in the framework that has, in time past, superintended elections in the country. That said, I also want to add that it's not a matter of being comfortable. If you take into account that every legal document of this nature is an aggregation of the interests and, of course, opinions, views of across Nigeria generally, from the political spectrum to the professional spectrum to all spectrums, all matrices of the politics of the nation. So, well, it does have implications. If for any reason we are unable to get the act passed, the amended bill passed, assented to as soon as we desire it, but nevertheless, we do have a document by which we operate presently. That's the Electoral Act as 2010 as amended.
Okay.
Okay. Now, last time you had a workshop here in Asaba, one of your organs at the top said that INEC will require 180 days within which a timetable could be released. Now, given that time frame, is it possible for you to achieve the passage of the bill and then come up with a timetable that were acceptable for the election?
Thank you very much. As of today, we are still on the countdown to perhaps the last deadline, the last day by which it becomes practically impossible to come out with a schedule of activities as envisaged. But nevertheless, Nigerians need to know that the commission is a creation of law. It has never operated without a legal framework. Presently, we have a legal framework that is guiding us, and that's the Electoral Act 2010 as amended.
So can we now assume or accept that 2023 election will be conducted on the premise of the 2010 Electoral Act as amended?
At the moment, that assumption will be speculation because, like I said, we are still counting down to when it will become impossible to rely on that document or the one that is in the works presently to conduct the 2023 election. But again, the commission is very flexible. It has capacity to adjust. I do believe that if for any reason we are unable to meet that time schedule, it will also come out with a statement and also let Nigerians know under legal framework is going to roll out operations for the 2023 election.
As a follow-up, you see why I'm asking this question is because
But we will.
I'm looking at the litigation.
No, let's leave it there for now. As we progress, maybe as the needs arises, we also ask him what his commission is doing to ensure that they have a free and fair and credible election, that it will not be running foul of the law. Gbandi, you have been in politics for quite some time now, and you have also followed the process of this amendment we are talking about today. Do you think what the National Assembly has done so far has taken the interests of Nigeria into consideration?
Well, I have to start by saying that I will even say congratulations that the National Assembly have been able to, at least to put up a bill that basically is the yearning of all Nigerians. The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Osibanjo, said in one of his quotes that we are practically asking for impossibility if you're definitely asking the people, the senators in this case or legislative, to change a law that benefits them negatively. So he is saying basically that we need to do more than the necessary pressure to be able to get them to do that. And that they've managed to probably yield to the pressures of the masses to be able to pass up a bill which has been rejected by Mr. President. And of course, you can see the outcry that followed. So I think we are in that, we're leading to that. We are working towards that. We will say thank you for at least making a move towards that. But until we have the presidential assent and to be able to see exactly the details of how the INEC we are going to implement that, I think we are still far away from getting to the promised land.
Nigerians were yearning for, were happy when the clause that has to do with direct primary was the only option in that amendment. But because of the refusal of the president to sign the Amendment Act, they now took it back and put other two clauses, making it for the political parties to have three options: direct primaries, indirect primaries, and consensus candidate. Do you think we are matured to sponsorship of an independent candidate in Nigeria?
I think the mother of all reforms is that we should make sure we register to vote. The mother of all reform is that we should have our PVC to vote. It will not make any difference, no matter what the passage of the new electoral laws are. And you have a situation where you have only 27 million Nigerians voting in an election out of 200 million Nigerians. So it's going to be basically difficult. So yes, we can debate whether it is necessary or not, whether it's best or not, but I think the best and mother of all reforms is for us to be able to make sure that every person who is eligible have a PVC to vote, and when we have that PVC to vote, it's our first fundamental step to actual electoral reforms, pending when we are going to have the assent to the president for the election.
I would like Mr. Ojeme. We are talking about 2023. How prepared are you, especially now that your timetable is not out. So how are you preparing, step by step, stage by stage, what are supposed to be in place given the time frame?
Thank you very much. Let me take you to section, I think section 90 to 93 or so of the Electoral Act that stipulates the number of days within which INEC is mandated or required to give notice of election before the general elections. If you are to go by the operative provisions of the 2010 Electoral Act as amended, we are still very much on course because we are having elections. The presidential election is February next year, I think 16th or so. And you recall that when the National Commissioner spoke, he did say that if the present bill is not passed, well, the INEC will have to recourse to the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. Otherwise, the INEC do have plans to give notice of election based on the provisions of the amendment bill, 360 days before the general elections. So we are preparing in line with the legal framework that is guiding us right now. I can assure you that internally the INEC processes is on. It's not everything you bring to the notice of the public. We do have what we call electoral cycle, which actually commences immediately after a major general election. So we are very near. If we had a template of activities to be accomplished, I can assure you that we've gone far beyond where people think we are right now. I can say that we have accomplished over 60% of the activity that needs to be done, dealt with, before even we give notice of election. So to answer your question, we are prepared. We are crossing our T's, we are dotting our I's. All we need to do to put our best foot forward on election day, everything is being done.
But Gbandi, will you be comfortable as a politician going ahead to face this election, your party, with the 2010 Electoral Act, considering the fact that it was the yearning of Nigerians that led to the amendment that we are expecting the president to sign into law? Will you be comfortable going to election with that?
No, the answer is no. Why we are clamoring for the electoral reform is because we've seen that in the past the politicians, the money bags, have been able to manipulate the electoral processes, where we have a lot of vote buying and the rest of them and ballot snatching. I mean, the INEC, they are not disputing the fact. But if we could have electronic transmission, which I believe is part of the Electoral Act, and it becomes impossible for somebody to take snatch a ballot box or burn the ballot box and get away with that. And that means even if you destroy the ballot paper, the result have already been transmitted electronically. So no, the answer is no. We won't be comfortable doing that. And that's why we're hoping and praying that Mr. President should, as a matter of urgency, give an assent to the electoral bill. And that is the hope that the youths of this country, the NSAS movement of this country, that all progressives in this country are looking forward at least with the electoral reforms, no matter the imperfection of it as it is now, it's a right step forward to guarantee the sanctity of our election. And we hope that the good people of Nigeria will continue to put pressure on Mr. President to sign the electoral reform.
Yeah, you were once chairman of the Nigeria in Diaspora Organization. What mileage did you attain in respect of diaspora voting?
Thank you so much. I am happy to see that during my leadership as the continental chairman of the Nigerian Diaspora Organization, we visited the stakeholders in the legislative chambers, including then the Senate President Bukola. And of course, in as much as I didn't start the diaspora voting clamor and also the diaspora commission, it was during my regime. Actually, I chaired the continental leaders to National Assembly that saw the concurrence agreement to meet and pass the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. So within this point, we were also able to raise the issue of the diaspora voting. We have over 20 million Nigerians in the diaspora. That number is actually conservative because that is the number that statistically has been floated for the past 10 years. So we can understand that within this time it must have changed. And in that process, we also visited the INEC office in Abuja, I think in 2017, 2013, 14, if I'm not mistaken. There we had a closed-door meeting with the INEC where they guaranteed us basically that INEC is fully prepared, ready to implement diaspora voting, that what we lack is the political will for them to do the necessary amendment to guarantee electronic voting. And you can see that even in these new reforms, electronic voting is one of the pillars of the reform because we cannot even vote from diaspora if we don't have electronic voting. So that's actually an essential pillar of that. So we've been clamoring that a constituency from the diaspora who have been able to remit over 32 billion US dollars to this federation between 2017-2018 period, keeping this country from bankruptcy. A constituency that can keep this country alive economically. It is totally irresponsible and unfair to say that that constituency do not have a say to decide who rules them or who governs them. And one of the only legitimate instruments we have to decide who governs us is basically by electronic voting. And that is why I'm happy that my party, if I'm allowed to mention that, has instituted what we call the diaspora arm with full rights to participate in all the level of politics. Because we feel that that's the leverage we have so far to do that. And my party seems to be also the only party in Nigeria that has guaranteed that if we have a direct or indirect voting as of today for the primaries, all members of the diaspora, of our party in diaspora, will have to participate in that voting through electronic.
You made us to understand the level of effort you made to ensure that diaspora voting is included in the yet to be signed Electoral Amended Act. What level of disappointment did you people receive when you finally realized that that aspect was not included in the act?
To be honest with you, if we want to be very sincere, I think most of Nigerians, over the 20 million Nigerians in diaspora, are basically fast giving up hope on this country. Like I said, the disappointment is totally written all over the diaspora. Is it on social media? Is it on national media and the rest of it? Like I give an example. The country who can, muster such amount of remittances are not being allowed to participate. So it's purely very disappointing. But we're not giving up. We're not giving up hope. Like the HOD from INEC have said, it's a process. What we're doing is a process, and the worst thing to do is to give up hope. The German says, hope dies last. So as long as we are committed to making sure that we're going to, help to rescue this country from the social economic menace we have as the current situation is, we will keep pushing. And with the electoral reforms we are going to have, we're encouraging a lot of Nigerians in diaspora, in spite of this situation, not to give up, but to come down to Nigeria, get involved, actively involved in politics, irrespective of the political party. They should get involved and make sure that our voices are heard, even if we cannot be allowed to vote from the diaspora for now.
Okay, Mr. Ojeme, talking about diaspora voting, how feasible can your commission make Nigerians benefit from this process?
Thank you very much.
Is it possible?
Very
2023?
Yeah, no, I cannot say because we are
how feasible? When can we?
If it becomes law, I can assure you that the commission will execute that aspect of the electoral process. Of course, you talk about technology and human resource. The commission do have access to both, and as long as the commission has access to both components that will make for a credible election, I can assure you that were Nigerians to be able to vote in those in diaspora today, the commission will be able to take care of it.
Credibility has been an issue.
Yes.
In our elections. 2023 is drawing very close. How credible do you think the 2023 general elections would be?
Thank you. Let me give you a background first. Every electoral outcome that is not credible has a way of chipping away at the credibility of those who benefit from those processes. And the commission is well aware of this fact. And that is why, even while the commission is doing all it can, all it could to make input to the new amended electoral bill, it has within the reviewing its internal processes and of course reviewing its platforms, And let me say to Nigerians today that in 2023, whether we have the Electoral Ammendment Bill or not, even right now, we're already beginning to have the experience of two key platforms that are likely or that will very much impact on the outcome of the electoral process in Nigeria. That is the use of what we call IVED machine for CVR. That is the INEC voter enrollment device. Right now, that is what is being used presently for the ongoing nationwide continuous voter registration exercise. Now, what you need to know about it, unlike the previous system platforms that was purely fingerprint based, the current IVED takes your fingerprint as well as your facials. We also have a platform now, voting platform, that allows for authentication by 4 ways. One is you put your surname. The other is you impute the barcode of your PVC. The other is you use the barcode, the QR code of the registered voter. The other is the VIN number, which in the previous election we didn't have all this kind of platforms to authenticate. It was purely based on fingerprints, and most times we are using incident forms. That gave him for a whole lot of manipulation. But right now, as we speak, as we inch towards 2023, I can assure you that with the ongoing platform for registration and what we'll be using for the BVAS, for the bimodal voter accreditation system for the coming election, in fact, it was piloted in data here in Isoko South. And I tell you that some smart politicians who thought things had not changed actually tried to circumvent that process. And to their shock, they discovered that the BVAS itself could not be circumvented and the vote counted. In the same way, it was taken to Anambra. In spite of the hostility, in spite of the so many negative issues that were going on, I then went to the field, and indeed, it proved that outcomes can count. So I want to assure Nigerians that all you need to do, like the other guest said, go get your PVC. That is what gives you access to be able to make decisions as to who you want to represent you.
Gbandi, from your experience in Germany, I know that you participated to a level in that country. And I want to commend you, even as you are sure you were able to do something there. So can you share your experience, how election is done over there compared to what we have in Nigeria?
Basically, I can walk into my polling unit, which is basically less than 5 minutes from my home, and within 3 minutes, I'll cast my vote and I'll leave the voting unit. Before the election time, whether we don't have anything like PVC, you get a letter based on your data registration, sending you a letter that this is your unit, your polling unit, and you need to come on this same day.
They send to individuals?
They send to every individual. So you come with the letter indicating your polling unit and your personal identification, which compares to the 2 lines of the letter they send to you and your PVC, and then you just go on your personal identification and you go there and cast your vote, and within 3 minutes you are out of the polling unit without no stress. That's one. Secondly, you are allowed to even send in, for any reason that you cannot go to the place on that same day, you can send in a letter. You can post a letter, free of stamping. You just go to the post office, throw in that same letter they send to you, where you're going to mark that you're voting by letter, by what they call it, by brief, by letter. And you post it, but you have a deadline of which to post it, because they need to arrive at a certain date, without which they're not going to count it. So once that letter arrives at that certain day, they are going to count it. So voting is totally without any complication, and you can walk in there and do that. So that's one of the things we are hoping that we're going to see in this country. And secondly, our experience also, most of our politicians, of course, like every politician in the world, in Hamburg, where I participated, and a member of the Hamburg Senate for Foreigners Council, where also I was the chairman of the anti-discrimination. Our senior senators, they don't earn any salary. They only earn sitting allowances. And after sitting, you go back to your different profession. And because of that, you really come to serve the people because you have a passion to serve, not because you're coming to make money. Because as a matter of fact, there's nothing to make in politics. And so,
over there, not in Nigeria.
Over there, over here. Yeah. So that's why we're hoping that we are going to try, by God's willing, our party, and also with other parties of good minds, of like minds, that we're going to de-emphasize the role of money in politics. to make our political system, free from corruption. Of course, what they do in America and in part of the world, which I hope we're going to do in Europe, is that the government fund political parties to some extent. If you cross a certain threshold of percentage in terms of popularity, you have a certain percentage of budget being funded by the political parties, and also have a very strict regulation how much you can also get from external body to support your political parties. When we begin to see such things, you discover that the people that has the ability and capability to serve will emerge as against people who have the money. Because I ask myself, if a politician can spend 5 or 6 or 40 million naira to buy a political form, how can somebody who wants to come and serve you, be expending, giving so much money to serve you? It's just simply because he's going there to do business. And I think when we begin to de-emphasize big money in politics, begin to look at qualities, service holders rather than, office holders, record making, then we begin to have a different thing in this country.
During your campaign at the diaspora level, did you canvass for part-time, what do you call now?
Parliamentary service.
Part-time parliamentary service, where you can go there, sit, immediately after sitting, you go back to your work?
As a matter of fact, for 3 years, I was the what we call the integration buyrat for African community, which means foreigners advisory council elected under Hamburg Senate Parliament. I can tell you that for the 3 years I served, I never got a cent, not 1 cent. As a matter of fact, because of this kind of Nigerian mentality, unfortunately, the negative Nigerians, not the positive Nigerians. And when I go about doing, community service and, attending to people, they actually accuse me of collecting money from the government and not sharing it with the members. So unfortunately for them, one of the events we had, they said, well, Kenneth Gbandi has been doing very well in the community. It has helped to pass this and that and that. The only problem they have is that all the money they're getting from the government is not getting. The woman was very shocked. Said money, that basically there's no money to be earned in Germany. It's basically service. So yes, there's no money to earn in the kind of service we do in Germany, so to say. You only come there to serve because you have a passion to serve.
So are you advocating for part-time engagement of legislators, particularly National Assembly?
I will say that with a loud yes. Yes. That's what Nigeria needs. Part-time politicians who want to have their time to come and serve the people. And by the time we start doing that, the people who want to make money from politics will run away, and the people who want to serve will come on board.
Ojeme, I don't know how to put this question, but let me ask it this way. What is INEC doing to ensure that they reduce the cost of election in Nigeria, both on the individual, the party, and INEC itself?
Thank you very much. First, you will recall that Section I think 78 of the Electoral Act, or thereabout, stipulates campaign expenses for every category of electable offices. The presidency is 1 billion. I think the governorship is 200 million. The Senate is 40 million. House of Reps 20 million, and down the line. Now, INEC has a department, and in that department you have a unit that tracks campaign expenses. How do we do this? We simply look at the billboards, because those are things you can cost. We look at the billboards, your adverts, your posters, and all that. But we know that in campaign funding in Nigeria, there's a lot going on under the table, which the Commission is always unable to deal with. But I want to let you know that the Commission itself have over time canvassed the view for demonetization of politics in Nigeria. And again, I want to also remind you that politics to a large extent are played by political parties with their constitutions. And like Mr. Gbandi has said, some of the provisions of the constitution are not in the constitution of other parties. And INEC cannot challenge those provisions. If a party comes up and says nomination forms are free, INEC cannot challenge it. So basically, we are also, by advocacy, throwing the ball back to the political parties and politicians. That look, don't incentivize corruption by over monetizing the political process. Beyond advocacy, beyond the fact that when the process of reviewed legal instrument is being done, we do come in with what was suggested or recommended issues that should be included. And the Commissioner never shied away from letting people know that, look, you need to do more about reducing the cost of campaigns. Take, for instance, a form that is sold for 40 million, like Gbandi said, and you want to be able to include women and youths in the process. Where would they get that kind of money from? But I tell you that if political parties agree on their own that to get nominated, come and pay 1,000 naira flat, the commission will not tell you, oh, it's too small, it's too little. No, we'll be very happy to find such innovations or reviews in political parties. Like I want to always emphasize, the commission is a creation of law, and we have a legal framework by which we operate, and we can never go outside those. Beyond advocacy, there's very little the commission can do other than what the law says, and we hold politicians to account based on what the law is saying. For instance, if we count your billboard, for instance, we have been able to do this, and we expect you to give us an audited report. We study your report, match it against our own investigation of your funding, and whether there are discrepancies, we query those reports. That's the most we can do in this regard.
There's an issue that has been giving Nigerians serious concern: the issue of credibility of the outcome of your elections. And so many people are beginning to say there won't be need for them to participate in any election, because at the end of the day, their vote will not count. What is your commission doing to ensure that they win the confidence of Nigerians towards participating in the election process?
Thank you. As a background too, let me also let Nigerians know today, for every general election, you don't have more than, maybe give or take, about 9,000 INEC staff on the field in one capacity on the other. While over 900,000 mobilized for election are youth corpers, they are teachers, they are university lecturers, they are undergraduates, sometimes graduate former corpers. And who are these people? They are your brothers, your sisters, your relatives, your aunties, your uncles. So basically, people sometimes want to blame INEC for everything. And we are saying that for every electoral cycle, we have what you call code of conduct. And these are read to, in fact, they get to sign an oath before they are deployed for election. You know, holding them accountable to obey the rules and the guidelines released by the Commission for every election. Now, let me take you back to the INEC state office where the rec office is. The closest polling unit, before we converted some voting points to polling, is Ojeme Primary School. It's about 4 kilometers away from INEC headquarters. But it will surprise you to see fine politicians say the INEC rec had manipulated the process. I tell you this, anytime you go to the polling unit, the person that manages that place is the presiding officer, not the rec, not even the HODs, not even the EOs.
Oh, the presiding officer is not an
at all. No, at all, it's not an officer. But people have gone in with this impression that INEC, manipulates everything or has his finger in every pie. That is that's not correct. But there is something INEC has been doing internally. It's reviewing its processes and platforms to make sure that even when anybody conceives in his or her mind to manipulate the system, you are going to find a gate somewhere that will make it impossible for you to carry whatever deeds you have in your mind. For instance, I just spoke about the outwit and beavers. The beavers itself, the outwit is the same as beaver. For registration, it is called outwit. During election, it is called beavers. And that has some internally built features which we are not willing and ready to tell anybody. But if, for instance, you can't vote by proxy. With the beavers, you cannot vote by a PVC that is not yours. By any stretch of imagination, it cannot happen. Many have tried it when it was piloted in Anambra. Many tried it. It didn't work out. So that is what we expect Nigerians to see and know that that is our commitment to making sure that the processes and the outcomes are transparent and they are credible.
Going forward, the beavers and ivers we are talking about, will it be able to eliminate what's called duplication of votes? One. will it be able to reduce the idea of ballot paper, what's it called? Mass stuffing of ballot box. Will it eliminate it?
Now, the way the beavers works, okay, let's first go to the IVET itself. And please, I want to emphasize that we have been missing a point. We have left a critical mass of Nigerian population demography out of the code for so long. That is people living with disabilities. They are over 25 million. Of that number, about 15 million are eligible voters. But over time, because of the processes of planning we have adopted over time, most of them have not been included in our electoral process. But now, with the IVET, you can take the facials, you can take the 10 fingers. It simply means that at the point of authentication,
in case somebody slept us, you can use the face.
You can use your face. So it simply means that at the point of voting, we don't authenticate you with your fingers. We don't do that. We just ask you what's your surname, it's imputed, and it pops up your details, including your face and every other information that is required to know that this PVC belongs to you. If that fails, we take your PVC, swipe it with the barcode, it will pop up your information. If that fails, we look at the voter register with the QR code, it brings up the information. If that fails, we match the VIN number, voter identification number on your PVC against that which is installed in the beavers itself. So the idea that somebody will come from somewhere to stop ballot is not even, does not arise anymore. Okay. In fact, in the course of voting, you can decide at some point, and don't forget to, as voting is concluded, we upload the voting results at the PU level, polling unit level, to what you call INEC result viewing portal. And it means that you can send the comfort of your home, not go anywhere. Just access that portal, you begin a password, you now can monitor all the results from the polling units without moving anywhere. And I tell you, it tallies.
Okay, this one we just mentioned last now, that from the polling unit, you just upload the result and it will enter your system.
Yes.
Did you experiment it in Delta State?
Don't you do the election? We did.
And it has that aspect of your innovation now been taken care of by the law?
Well, we are expecting that the act, the amended bill, but again, don't forget, Section 152 requires that INEC makes regulations and directions for the conduct of election. So this one falls under that aspect. So it's not even threatened in any way.
Okay.
And your election in Delta State,
yes,
certain of your equipment, I think the beavers,
yes,
were removed.
Yes.
Now, in a situation like that during the elections,
yes,
how do you retrieve your data?
You see, it is simply of no effect when you take away beavers, because there is a place where the informations go to. So when that happened, well, we don't know the incentive behind that act, but it has just become a piece of obsolete machine that is of no use to anybody.
Let me go back to Gbandi. Gbandi, sorry, I may digress a bit. Recent times, I've been seeing your picture on Facebook, Gbandi for something, but I didn't take note until I come across you today now to see. Well, do you have intention to run election in Delta State?
Yes, the answer is yes. I intend to run for the office of the Senate for Delta North, for the Republic of Nigeria. And the idea is simply to see that the best international practice, the things that we say could happen in this country positively, they're not rocket science. It is something that we have done. It's something that is doable, like you just asked about the election in Germany. And I think it's something we can do in Nigeria. In my over 8 years serving the Nigerians in diaspora, I make bold to say that myself and my group, and my executive, were able to secure $2.4 billion US. $2.4 billion US, not naira, as a grant, not as a loan.
To who?
To the Federal Republic of Nigeria, through our organization, NIDO, to construct over 100,000 housing units in 10 years. That is going to create over 5,000 jobs every year for the next 10 years, and so on and so forth. Delta State have brought in investors that are going to generate power for Delta State without the Delta State investing 1 cent. It means that what we needed from the Delta State government was basically to sign off to undertake or to buy up the power
Okay.
once it's generated.
Okay, we'll leave it there. When
I just wanted to say-
when you get to campaign, you can begin to tell
No, I
us.
just wanted to- I just
The
wanted to
question
say
is,
that-
do you have interest?
Yes, we do. Because we want to bring, even as a non-politician, that's the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
We could be able to do what we call homeland development, but there are things we believe it is important for our country.
But let me ask you this question. Considering where you are coming from, the climate you are coming from, and what operates in Nigeria, you were in Germany and you participated in the election without paying you one kobo. You are coming to Nigeria where you are going to spend your hard-earned money that you have made over time there during the consultation period, primary period, voting period, even after the elections. Do you think you have the strength and the character to
Like Nigerians will ask, are you on ground?
Are you on ground?
In fact, the question you are asking is not out of place. I've been asked that question over and over again. And my answer to most of them is that since when in this world is your pocket's ability to determine your ability to serve? We have to answer that question fundamentally in Nigeria. That if we begin to answer that question favorably, like the HOD from INEC said, and I think I gave him kudos on that, that the majority of the field officers are our brothers and sisters, our mothers and our fathers. If any of us, like you said, we're not campaigning, far be from it. If we say that the Delta State as a state can do better with all our natural resources, for whatever reason, which means there are opportunity to improve. But if we think we have not gotten to that threshold we want, the question is, do we remain where we are?
No, you have not answered my question. How do you intend to fit in when the climate here is different from where you are coming from?
It's the change. That's what the change is for them to realize that if we are not satisfied with the way we are, and if we keep doing the same thing all over again and expecting the same result, then we're going to keep dreaming for the next 20 years.
I was thinking.
So the main is that we need to change our mindset.
But I was thinking that you would have started from advocacy first, because the change should come first before the participation. Or do you think the participation should come before the change?
Good question. I've served Nigeria for the past 20 years to the best of my ability. I was with Jonathan presidential campaign team as a diaspora consultant. I led the diaspora. Like I told you, I led the diaspora with my fellow diaspora executive that passed the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. We are still fighting for Nigerian voting rights. So I think the time of advocacy has actually passed. We have said that and over, and the time is for us to implement what we have been preaching in the past 15 years. Otherwise, we'll keep on this advocacy endless. Okay. So I think the time for action is now, rather than the time of speaking long grammar.
INEC, you said the card, the voter's card, will when you swipe on top your machine.
Yes.
There will be name that is there. What of those that registered for their voter's card before NIM started? Like I can't remember when I registered, but I still have my voter's card. How do you manage that?
Thank you. I did not say when you swipe your details means for every Beavers machine, for every location of election, the voters' details are imputed into those machines. So when you swipe your card, it just pops. It brings up your detail, not name this time. Okay. But if in any case we are unable to get your information out, we can use the VIN number, okay, which is embedded. It's not even embedded. It's inside your PVC. That voter identification number is called VIN. Okay. It's just to look at maybe 3 digits of it. Trying all 4. If it doesn't work, simply means you have no business at the polling unit.
I understand. Then we're going back to Kenneth Gbandi. Sometimes people want to say whether it's Gbandi or the other one, but I want to believe that your own is quite different. The spelling is different from what the other man's own. You are from Delta State, and you said your organization was able to get for Nigeria $2.something billion for what, and where is that money being spent?
Well, it's supposed to be for housing unit. Like I said, we wanted to construct 100,000 housing units across the federation, starting with Delta, my hometown, which is the charity begins at home. The money did not come in. We didn't get the money because the donors needed 3 criteria or 4 criteria. One, the federal government must, admit that the organization is registered with the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that the money is meant to the project which it was meant, to be used for. The process is that we made a very first presentation at the Office of the Secretary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, SGF. After they have vetted the project, it was approved and sent to the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance also sent to what we call the concurrence process of the different agencies involved in that. And after that, it was sent to the presidency for signature. And that was the last we had from it.
We
tried. We had groups. We had contacts. We had used different channels to find out what is the process, what is the problem. We could not get it.
And the money is still there.
Well, we have a window period after which that money elapses. Okay. You can get it. So until I left office, I fought all the best I can to make sure if we could get that this initialization done and to be able to access the fund. Unfortunately, we could not.
Okay. So it has gone back to the
lost to the air.
Soroku?
INEC, issue of multiple registration. It comes with a penalty. Yes. And I'm aware that in the last Anambra election, over 50,000 multiple registrations were discovered. Yes. How are you handling that?
Thank you. I also want to add that in FCT, for instance, where 78,000 registered, 28,000 did multiple registration. As at the time the National Commissioner was in Asaba, he did say that the commission were housing or quarantining these multiple registrants. And he did say something, that if we were to prosecute all multiple registrants at present, we probably have to help build more prisons. Because those CVRO offenses, they come with penalties. Some are 1 year to 2 years imprisonment and with option of fine, while others are 100,000 or thereabout. At the moment, the Commission has decided to continually quarantine those instances of multiple registration with the hope that it will meet finally to decide on what to do. But I can assure you of one thing. The Commission could only do 2 things. Either it completely removes those persons from the register or deletes the multiple registration and allow one registration to subsist. That would be the option. But I cannot for now say what the decision of the Commission will be. But the Commission intends to meet, hopefully before 2023, to decide on what to do. But I assure you, because of the numbers, and again, it's necessary to also state that not every instance of multiple registration is a product of willful criminality. Because we have been going out to engage with people, we discovered that, take the online registration for instance, it offers a range of services. It includes first-time registrants, it includes those who want to update their records, it includes those who want to do transfer, it includes those who have lost their PVCs. But some persons, because perhaps out of ignorance or just not ready to, in the understanding that going through the process of trying to get your details or try to remedy those maybe lost PVC, the next thing is to go and register afresh. The machine will allow you to access the portal. But at some point, you discover that you have been registered. There's a system in the machine that automatically quarantines queries your registration and say this person has been registered before. It brings to the knowledge of the back end. That is what is happening presently. But I am saying that presently, if you want to bring together all multiple registrants currently under the ongoing national, you may have maybe millions. And where are the prisons?
You can't be talking of prisons now. You said you are not a revenue generating agency.
Yes.
Can't there be option or fine as a deterrent to dubious multiple registration?
He has said something that most people may not know, that they have registered twice.
But again, if you should know if you have registered.
No, it's also.
He has given an example.
Some have done it without willfully intending to commit a crime.
Like those who love their PVC.
Yes.
Those who want
but
to.
you swear an affidavit. If you lost your PVC, you swear an affidavit. you go to the...
There's other legislation that is going on now.
You know, there's only
The INEC commission may not have opportunity to
No, what I'm saying, Mike, is if you lost your PVC,
Yes.
you go to, because swear an affidavit,
Yes.
and go to the office.
Yes.
They help you to...
What of those
to
registered
recover
online?
Now, that is if you have not registered before.
No.
You can get
Online provides a range of services, including those who have registered before but have lost their PVCs,
Yes.
or those who want to change the details. Maybe you were Mr. Now you are Chief, or you were Mr. Now you want to add engineer to your subject.
So is there no way you could detect fraudulent registrants?
Well, from what I've explained,
Yes.
it is quite possible that
Because you can make
Some persons may have
generate revenue from
From
it.
what he said, because it's difficult to know who registered fraudulently.
some people may have been
fraudulently.
careless. But again, I want to take you back to the Electoral Act we are using presently. In some instances, it prescribes prison term without option of fine. And I tell you that perhaps when the legal frame was being put in place, perhaps it did not realize that you have this many number of persons who perhaps by error or deliberately making this kind of
No, that's not an excuse.
So
Have
that is
over
where
1 million multiple registrants,
Okay,
and then 50,000.
Victor,
That's plenty of money for you to run
Time is not
elections.
on our side, and we are already getting signals that we need to wind up. Well, Gbandi, by way of summary, what will be your message to the National Assembly, the President himself, and the electors with respect to the amended
Electoral bill
that is waiting for assent?
Well, I will tell the National Assembly, they have been elected by the people of Nigeria, to help to make good law for Nigeria. You've sent the bill to Mr. President. Hopefully, Mr. President is going to pass it within 90 days. If Mr. President did not do that, veto it. Pass the law, pass the bill. That's what you're elected to do. On the Nigerian electorate, no matter what the reforms we have today, if you don't have your PVC to vote, you have lost a right to complain in this country. So go and get your PVC. Get it ready and let's use it. And after that, this election for 2023 is going to be the pivotal time in the history of Nigeria. If they rig the election, let them be assured we're going to use whatever it takes, nationally and internationally, to go after them. So go and get your PVC. And Mr. President, sign the bill.
Ojeme.
Well, the delay in the assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill has implications for the Commission preparations and, of course, implications for unruling schedule of activity. But it does not and will not imperil the conduct of elections because we do have a document which we rely on presently to superintend the process.
Thank you very much for coming to today's edition of the Meeting Point. We have been able to look at the issues surrounding the 2023 elections and the Unending Electoral Act Amendment. And our discussants have been able to also suggest ways that Nigerians can come out of it. They were able to point out that it will serve Nigeria good if the amended act is passed into law to give way for INEC to come out with the timetable and also give opportunity for Nigerians who want to exercise their franchise to do it without fear or favor. And they are also assured us, INEC assured us that this 2023 election, our votes will count. And the man from the diaspora has also assured us that if, peradventure, INEC didn't do well, they will use both international and local connections to pursue the case to any level. I want to thank you, Mr. Ojeme, for coming to this program. Kenneth Gbandi, we will also thank you for joining us.
Not Kenneth Gbandi.
Kenneth Gbandi, not Gbagi. Comrade Soroku, thank you also for making our time to join us. I am Michael Ekogo. Thank you for joining us.